I, Vampire number 17, written by Joshua Hale Fialkov, art by Fernando Blanco. So last issue, we had Andrew and his merry gang of vampires have taken over the House of Mystery. And pick up right there, we see Andrew basically saying like, hey, yep, I took over the House of Mystery. I've got my little team here. And I do appreciate he gives names for everybody so I can just reference back. We have Tig, obviously the teenage girl, Charles Thompson, who knows magic, and the Keeper, which is the archivist they just stole from the, what's it called? Von Val, the Vampire Hunters. Why am I blanking on that name? Regardless, they all start attacking Constantine and co. And basically nobody on Constantine's side is winning. It is all and out that they're losing, except for Constantine himself, who's able to cast some magical spells. And he uses his cigarette on like the back of his hand in order to like throw out a huge either fireball or light, which does manage to blast them away a little bit. And Andrew's like, wow, that actually hurt. Good job. And Constantine's like, yeah, thanks. So then Andrew and co like teleport their way back inside the house, and all the people on Constantine's side are like, okay, well, if they've got control of the house, then we've got some big problems. So, how you want to handle this? And Mary just picks up an axe and says, like, you know what? Screw it, and walks into the house. And then Debbie goes in afterwards saying, screw it. And Constantine's like, well, now I feel like a little bit of a pansy. And then, is it Jonathan, I think? Troughton, the professor. He makes his way in as well. And Constantine's like, all right, fine, whatever. So first in is Jonathan, who he makes his way into the house ready to attack, and his grandmother's just there waiting. And he's like, what are you doing here, Meemaw? And Meemaw's like, oh, I went to hell, Sonny. I had some impure thought about girls. And then Andrew pops up behind him being like, hey, guess it must run in the family, right, John? Huh? So then we cut to Mary. She's just in a pitch black room. She pulls out her lighter, turns it on, and as soon as she sees around her, it's just a sea of dead bodies who apparently were all the bodies who were responsible, or that Mary was responsible for killing. So last up, we see Deborah. She steps in and she just sees her house and she's like, oh, hey, I'm home. But then standing behind her is Mishkin, I believe her old husband. And he ends up immediately rotting as they embrace. And she's like, son of a bitch, you got me. And so she attacks Mishkin with, I think, a baseball bat. No, it's an axe. Attacks Mishkin with a baseball bat. And then Constantine, we see his thing, and he's like, all right, what do you got? What horror are you going to throw at me? And then Tig just steps up and just be like, nah, it's just me. I'm just going to murder you. And Constantine's like, well, fair enough. See if you can kill me with only one hand. And she lunges at him. He just throws up like a stasis field and just like, yeah, all right, well, that was easy enough. Looks at the necklace around Tig's neck and he's like, oh, hey, this looks familiar. This came from that vampire that Andrew killed off at the truck stop. Did you know them? He's like, no, that was my father. So then we cut down deeper into the House of Mystery, and turns out that the Charles and the Keeper are currently trying to take a stone from the House of Babel and send it down to hell. And their plan is, if they give a piece of heaven down into hell, it's going to open a portal between the two and the entirety of Earth will burn. And that's Andrew's plan. He explained it in the first page. So then Kane shows up and he's just sitting on the steps and he's like, all right, guys, what's going on here? And he's like, dude, are you wearing a dress? And he's like, yeah, I'm a really old guy. And he's like, older than the invention of pants? And he's like, yes, I am that old. He's like, oh, you're Kane. You're the first vampire, right? What are you even doing here? I thought Andrew got rid of all the other vampires. And he's like, I'm not a vampire. I'm something more. I was before vampires. And he's like, all right, fair enough. Like, can you like leave? And then Kane just like summons up magic and takes Charles and throws him up in the air. And the archivist is like, oh, okay, don't mess with the portal, man. It's opening the gateway. And he's like, yeah, no, I want you to open the gateway because I'm going to go down and I'm going to go get Lilith, my bride. So then we cut back to John and his Meemaw's transformed into this horrible tentacle creature. And Andrew steps up behind him and be like, hey, you know, John, I can bring you back. I can turn you and you can join my side. Like, it's simple as that. And John's like, you're not Andrew. You look like him, but you're not him anymore. And she's like, well, I mean, isn't that enough? And Andrew leans in for a kiss and John gives in. and Andrew rips his heart out, literally. And that's it. John's dead. Like, they come back to it later on. He's definitely dead. So then we cut to Mary, who's struggling with all the dead she killed. Constantine manages to find her, casts a spell to get rid of all of them. And then Andrew steps into the room and just being like, hey guys, just want you to know. And he tosses John's heart on the floor. Just be like, I killed John. He's dead now. And at that point, Constantine binds Andrew to a wall, to a nearby wall using a spell. And Andrew's like, oh, sounds like the gate's opening. Constantine's like, crap. All right, look, I'm going to go deal with the gate opening. Mary, you stay here. I trust that you can handle Andrew if he's bound to the wall. And she's like, yep, I got it. So then Deborah, she makes her way through the house some more, sees John's dead body, and he's like, all right, screw that. She grabs a sword off the wall and says Andrew Bennett is going to die. So Constantine makes his way downstairs. Turns out Cain is just in the portal, like, all right, Lilith, come on home, baby. And Constantine steps forward, steps over the body of Charles, and Charles is like, I'm going to kill you, Constantine. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Hey, Cain, do you want to come down from there? And Cain's like, oh, hey, Constantine, your soul is very wanted in hell. I could make a pretty penny off that. So then we cut up to Mary and Andrew, and they talk, and Mary is basically like, Andrew's like, you're going to kill me, yeah? And she's like, no, worse, I'm going to talk to you. And she basically wants to know, why didn't you include me? Why didn't you bring me in on your new vampire thing? And he's like, you had half a millennia, 500 years to do something, anything, and you didn't. You're a failure. Why would I want that on my team? And she's like, well, together we could have done something. And he's like, well, together we still could. And she leans in, she kisses Andrew. Andrew gets freed from the spell that was binding him to the wall. Andrew seemingly bites the lip of Mary, which theoretically is turning her. But then a sword comes down, chops off the head of Mary. And it turns out this was Tig. And Tig, it was chopped off her head saying, yeah, I'm getting revenge. And Andrew was super pissed off about this. He's like, no, I was getting her back. And Tig holds the sword to Andrew's neck saying, Andrew Bennett, you killed my father. Prepare to die. Yes, that is a Princess Bride reference. And that's just where the issue ends. It does technically have one more panel of Cain saying that his bride has risen. But Mary is beheaded. John is dead. We are in the final endgame here. We only have 2 more issues, and I want more, god damn it. But no, this issue, I do want to throw out there, this is the first issue that I did truly miss the artwork of Andrea Sorrentino. Not that the artwork in this is bad. It is not by any means. It does a very good job of still imitating the art that came before it, and it's very good. But I see all these scenes in that art style in my head, and I want that. If it was only going to be for 4 more issues, yes, I understand Green Arrow got Sorrentino, but like, why couldn't you have just kept him around just a little bit longer? Overall, though, still a great issue, setting up fantastic things. The fact it managed to kill off possibly 2 main characters, one after another, and I believe it. I think they're dead because we are so close to the end here. I got to give this one like an 8.5 just on the balls of it alone. It's great. It's a fantastic issue. I cannot speak more highly of it. So yeah, 2 more issues. God, I hope they stick the landing.